I know some of you played some golf this afternoon here at the beautiful Pembroke. I heard some of you played much better than others. So congratulations for that, and good luck on the next day or so. So, my name is Fred, and I'm a golfaholic. I had to tear myself away from the range to get here tonight, just as I was on the verge of finding Hogan's secret. Alas, it's a sad, sad story. I've been reduced to a mere shadow of the college graduate that went out into the world well organized and driven to succeed in the corporate climb, to go forth, do good, earn millions of dollars, retire by the age of 55 to a beautiful sandy beach, surrounded by gorgeous beach bunnies, serving me wonderful drinks and attending to my every need. That didn't work out so well. Now, the only thought that dominates my consciousness is whether or not to play 18 holes, chip or putt for hours, or dig it out of the dirt on the range until my hands bleed. I know I need help, but I know there's no cure, just like all of you. My name is Fred, and I'm a golfaholic. So, this is a sad story of war we all have to know a little bit about. How do you know if you're a golfaholic? Well, if you read every article about golf club technology, understand MOI, spin rate, launch angle, club head speeds, shaft flex, kick point, and coefficient of inertia, you may be a golfaholic. If you dream about 18 one-putt greens in one round, shooting 59 and finding eternal enlightenment on the golf course, then you could be a golfaholic. You might be a golfaholic if you find a woman much more alluring with a golf club in her hand. You might be a golfaholic if you anticipate the new equipment issue of Golf Digest every spring with the same eagerness as the annual Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. One of my favorite quotes comes from Arnold Palmer. Golf is deceptively simple and endlessly complicated. It satisfies the soul and frustrates the intellect. It is at the same time rewarding and maddening, but is without a doubt the greatest game that mankind has ever invented. And that is exactly the crux of the problem. We love the game. We love everything about it. It's a very serious addiction. It affects nearly 40 million avid hackers around the world. And since COVID-19, even more are taking up the game. There is really no cure. And since other sports fanatics are not allowed, it's just the courses are getting more crowded, tee sheets are filled up. But that's a good thing, right? For us that love the game. Sadly, there is no known cure for this debilitating disease. The best known treatment is aimlessly walking around Golf Galaxy or a PGA Tour superstore, shopping for new golf equipment and apparel. Or maybe watching hours of golf on television, the Golf Channel. What a great thing that was. Family members and friends of afflicted with this disease should be treated with the utmost caution and care. A cure is not forthcoming, and perfection can never be attained. Only a deep appreciation of the complexity of the game and belief they will find that pure swing sustains the stricken golfaholic. As Roy Hobbs so eloquently said in the movie Tin Cup, golf and sex are the only two things in life that one can completely suck at but still enjoy. Just a couple more signs that you may be a golfaholic. Do you understand pronation and supination? Does your Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram profile include a picture of a golf club or a golf course? Are you familiar with Danny Noonan, Al Cervic, Ty Webb, Judge Smales, Lacey Underall, and Carl Spackler? Can you hit it long like the Dalai Lama? And have you been granted eternal consciousness? So anyhow, that's a few things. If you're in good company. We're all a little bit of a golfaholic here, and we're here to honor all these people that have been going to be inducted into the Ohio Golf Club. Ohio Golf Hall of Fame tonight, and we're extremely lucky to be doing this. We want to take a few minutes, the Ohio Golf Association wants to take a few minutes to thank a few people, especially Morgan Stanley and the Aurora Group, for the generous sponsorship of tonight's event. You'll notice on the programs on the table, Morgan Stanley is prominently mentioned there. So if you know any of those people, give them a big thanks. Also, a huge thanks to Plum Brook Country Club's president, Kerry Perdue, General Manager Tom Smerlil, Head Pro Eric Morgan, and Superintendent Mike Biller for once again hosting this event and ensuring the course is in pristine condition for these not quite over-the-hill senior golfers. So, we're here tonight to honor Ohio's rich golf history. Byron Nelson was a head pro at Gerwin Country Club. Frank Stranahan was one of the last great amateurs in America. Peggy Kirk Bell grew up in Findlay and became one of the most acclaimed female golfers and teachers of all time. Arnold Palmer honed his skills in Cleveland area, won the 53 and 54 Ohio Amateur Championship. But wait, there's more. The Golden Bear, Jack Nicklaus, was born and bred in Columbus and is probably the greatest champion the game has ever known. Plus, through golf, he and his wife Barbara continued to generate millions of dollars for children's medical research and treatment, not only in Central Ohio, but also in southeastern Florida and around the country. The list with names like John Cook, Ben Curtis. Plus, there's a wave of new great young talent who learned the game right here in Ohio. Past inductees of the Ohio Golf Hall of Fame: Bob Hope, Pete Dye, Arthur Hills, Tom Weisskopf, Renee Powell, and the list goes on and on. Ohio golfers can indeed be very proud of their golf heritage. So these three new inductees, Robert Gerwin II, Thomas Gryzwinski, and Betty Kerby, are truly worthy of this inclusion with this illustrious group. So congratulations to all. Let's give them a hand. So with that, we'd like to introduce our first presenter this evening. So I'm going to present Mary Picard, who's going to talk about her mother, Betty. And Betty was involved in golf from her birth, as her father was a PGA professional. Betty's lifelong involvement in golf was threefold: as a competitor, an advocate, and a USGA rules official. So I was reading through her bio, and something just jumped out at me. She did something that very few have ever accomplished, let alone dreamed of. She achieved a perfect score on the USGA PGA Rules of Golf workshop test. Now, I don't know if any of you have tried to take that, but there's no way I can pass it. I've been playing golf for 50 years. I couldn't pass it. She achieved a perfect score. So, accepting Betty Kerby's Picard's induction into the Ohio Golf Hall of Fame is her daughter Mary, who is very involved in Ohio golf as well. She sits on the board of the Women's Ohio State Golf Association and is president of the LPGA Amateurs in Canton. Mary spent 30 years working on the floor of the Chicago Board of Trade and had a seat on the floor for 25 years. She's now an options trader and lives in Canton. Please welcome Mary Picard, accepting for Betty Kerby.
Betty Kerby was the daughter of Elizabeth Kerby and Ed Kerby. She learned the game of golf from her father, Ed, the head golf professional at the Fairlawn Country Club in Akron, Ohio, for 41 years. Betty grew up following her father around the post shop, driving range, and golf course. Her mother, Elizabeth, was an avid golfer and was president of the Women's Akron District Golf Association for many years. Before Elizabeth married Ed, she and her brother once owned a well-known restaurant on Nantucket called the Chanticleer, which is still in existence today. Elizabeth was a good cook, and family meals at the dining room table often centered around great food and friends and talk about golf, often involving who Ed gave lessons to on that particular day. During Betty's youth, her home was Akron for half of the school year, but during the winter months, the four Kerby snowbirds, including her sister Pat, would reside in St. Petersburg, Florida, and could continue work as a golf pro. As a result, Betty was able to play and practice year-round. One way she practiced regularly was by chipping to newspapers scattered about the rough, or by playing from the men's tees. Her strengths became her short game, including putting, and although she was not known for being a long hitter, she was straight off the tee and fairway. Throughout her life, she was introduced to many wonderful golfers. She met or knew all 13 of the original founders of the LPGA, including Dave Zaharias, Betty Jameson, and Marilyn Smith. One of the founders, Patty Bird, was a lifetime friend. Betty also met many PGA players over the years through her father. If you went to nearly NEC World Series of Golf tournament at Firestone Country Club with Betty and her father, then the odds were in your favor that you would have met some of the players, including Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer. Her house was proof of that, as it was covered with old black and white photos with various players such as Ben Hogan, Sam Snead, and even Babe Ruth, who Ed gave lessons to while training for the Yankees in Florida. Betty's lifelong involvement in golf was threefold. She was a competitor, an advocate for golf, and a USGA rules official. As a competitor, Betty excelled in golf from an early age. She held a club in her hand beginning at 2 years old. By the age of 9, she was winning golf tournaments. She attended Barry University in Florida and played golf as an individual since the school did not have a team. One season, she was the women's national intercollegiate medalist at the Ohio State University Scarlet Course. Betty qualified and played in the Women's National Amateur Championship 5 times. In the late 50s, she qualified and competed as an amateur in a number of professional events on the LPGA Tour, playing alongside Golf Hall of Famers Mickey Wright, Betsy Rawls, Joanne Carter, and Peggy Kirkell. She was low amateur at 4 of those LPGA tournaments. Her highest finish overall in a professional event was a 5th place at a tournament in Sanford, Florida. She finished second in the amateur division at the 1950s title holders tournament in Augusta, Georgia. According to her friend Karen Oldham, Betty was considered the top 10 amateur in the nation during this period. The summer she was going to turn pro, her friend and 3-time Women's Ohio State amateur champion Colleen Whitaker set her up on a blind date to play golf with Don Pepper. Don had been a lieutenant colonel in World War II, was Catholic, and played golf. Betty decided not to join the tour. 6 months later, she and Don were happily married. Before and after marriage, Betty competed in the Women's Akron District Golf Association. She won the tournament 13 times, beginning at the age of 17, a record that still stands today. She won the WSGA State Amateur Championship 2 times and was runner-up 3 times. She was a longtime member of Brookside Country Club in Canton and was club champion many times. Fairlawn Country Club made her an honorary lifetime member for all of her achievements. As an advocate for golf, Betty and Roberta Belden were very involved in the junior golf program at Canton's Brookside Country Club. Head pro of Ohio Golf Hall of Famer Jim Lowe often started off the junior mornings then with a group lesson. When the juniors finished their rounds of golf, Betty never asked the kids how they did, but she always asked if they had fun. That was what she found to be important to a junior golfer, to have fun. She was also head of the interclub program at Brookside, in which the top juniors qualified weekly to play various district courses. She always emphasized good etiquette on the course to these players. She wanted you to know and follow the rules, be aware of pace of play, and to always putt out. Betty served on the Brookside Greens Committee. The talented and long-term greenskeeper Bob Figueroa once recalled that there was a scuffle in a greens committee meeting. Excuse me. Several of the men were complaining about how difficult the greens had become. Bob was slowly boiling up inside as he took pride in his work and was quickly calculating how much new work was now going to be ahead of him to please the committee. He said that Betty waited until the men were all finished complaining. Then she spoke up and said, "Pauline and I played 18 holes this morning, and we had no complaints about the greens." That was the end of the conversation. The greens were to remain the same. Bob said he was so relieved that he wanted to lift Betty up in the air. She volunteered at the Clearview Golf Course in East Canton for the Pro and Howell Golf Hall of Famer Renee Powell in the LPGA USGA Girls Golf Program. There she would teach the kids about the rules of golf and answer any questions. Her favorite question was from a little girl who once asked, What would happen if you hit a ball and it rolled into a house? She also worked with the program to educate Girl Scouts about golf and was active in the Ohio Girls Golf Foundation. When her competitive days ended in 1994, Betty searched for ways to contribute. She did so by becoming an expert in the rules of golf and serving as a rules official in local, state, and regional tournaments. She was a USGA rules official on the Regional Affairs Committee for nearly 20 years. She volunteered yearly as a rules official at the WSGA's Junior Girls Championships, the Women's Senior Championships, and the State Amateur Championships. Occasionally, she helped with the rules at the Stark County High School Sectional Championships, the Squadron Tournament, and the LPGA Amateurs Canton Chapter Qualifiers. She once achieved a perfect score on the very difficult USGA rules test. During the tournament, if a parent or player came up to her arguing about a rule, then Betty could recite the rule by heart. If push came to shove, then she could open the rules book to the exact rule in question without looking at the book's index. The acronym Deacon Joe quoted her thoughts on being a rules official. She said, "It can be tough. The rules of golf are clear, but situations sometimes are not. It often comes down to doing the fairest thing." The highlight of Betty's rules officiating was when she was asked to work at the 2010 U.S. Women's Open at Oak Pond Country Club, Pennsylvania, at which Paula Kramer won. Betty trained for that tournament and at the age of 80 walked the very hilly course for 3 consecutive days in extreme heat. A lot of good came out of Betty's love for the game of golf. She met many friends and acquaintances throughout her life in the game, especially the people at Brookside Country Club and the pros such as Charlie Woods, Jim Lowe, and Ohio Golf Hall of Famer Gary Robinson. As mentioned, she met her husband Don through golf. Together, Betty and Don had 5 children, all of which grew up in the junior golf program at Brookside. I'm the oldest, and I'm on the boards of the WSGA and president of the LPGA Amateurs Canton chapter. I'm an options trader living in Canton, Ohio. I spent 30 years clerking and trading on the floor of the Chicago Board of Trade and had a seat on the board for 25 years. Donnie was on an Ohio high school state runner-up team in boys golf. He practices medicine as a veterinarian in the Charlottesville, Virginia area. Patricia designed and made the roll-up golf course our mother used for years to teach golf rules to the kids in the Renee Powell's programs. She is a costume designer and supervisor in Los Angeles, California, and has been considered for 3 Emmy Awards. Tom was on an Ohio high school state champion golf team. He lives in Salt Lake City, Utah, and is a professional golfer. He gives corporate clinics and teaches golf speed and performance. In 2016, he won the Masters division of the televised World Long Drive Championship. David plays golf both recreationally and in business and has introduced his 2 children to the game. His family lives in Austin, Texas, and he is the CIO and part owner of Pathway Bet Alliance. In her honor, Betty has had a tournament, a scholarship, and an award named after her. She has also been inducted into 3 Hall of Fames. Canton Brookside Country Club plays an annual 27-hole women's tournament called the Betty Whitaker Cup, named after 2 of their long-term club champions, Betty Kerby and Pauline Whitaker. Since 2014, the squad has given 10 Betty Kerby Pepper scholarships to Stark County female high school golfers for college. In 2002, the WSGA created the Betty Kerby Pepper Award designed to recognize people who have promoted and influenced amateur golf for women in the state of Ohio. Betty was the first recipient of the award. She is a member of the Barry University Hall of Fame and Sun County Sports Hall of Fame. She was inducted into the inaugural class of the Stark County Golf Hall of Fame along with good friends William Powell, Pauline Whitaker, John Nist, and John Oker. And tonight, she is being inducted into the 4th Hall of Fame, the Ohio Golf Hall of Fame. Thank you to the OGA board governors, in particular Matt Lepperts. On behalf of Betty Kerby Pepper, her children gratefully and graciously accept this honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. When you read in the program what these inductees have accomplished in their lives and what they have given back to the game of golf, it makes me wonder, what have I been doing all my life? What a loser. But anyhow, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the presenter for our next honoree. Tom Gryzwinski is a legend in Toledo golf. He was a teacher for 35 years with the Toledo public school system. He was a coach, as well as a longtime high school and collegiate basketball official. He continued his teaching and mentoring to young caddies for 37 years, 30 of which have been at Sylvania Country Club. On hand tonight to present Mr. Gryzwinski is Terry Schaefer, a member at Sylvania Country Club, and the 1982 recipient of an Evans Scholarship. He continues today, along with many former Evans Scholars, as an avid supporter of the Evans Scholar Program. Terry?
Thank you. It's quite my honor to be here this evening to introduce Tom Gryzwinski into the Ohio Golf Hall of Fame class of 2020, because I'm truly one who has benefited from Tom's work. And I also learned from our dinner conversation his favorite caddy of all time, Scott Young. Scott must have been busy. But Tom, thank you for asking me to introduce you. As Frank has said, Tom is a lifelong educator and mentor of young men and women in and out of the classroom. He's a proud graduate of Woodward High School, class of '59, Defiance College, 1963, and then entered into the U.S. Army in 1965. And Tom, thank you for your service in the Army. He was honorably discharged from the Army in 1967 and for our benefit returned to the Toledo area. He taught in the public school system for 35 years, with 30 at his alma mater, Woodward High School, which I know my brother's father-in-law knew that was no easy task. He spent 25 years coaching baseball, football, 35 years officiating high school, college basketball. I never got beyond the high school level of officiating. I know that's a thankless job. You did a wonderful job. You did the Big East, the Mid-American Conference, Mid-Continent, and Great Lakes Valley Conferences. Fortunate for us, Tom chose to be a caddy master for 37 years, with the last 30 of them coming at Sylvania Country Club, where he's still today, and he molds young men and women to be great caddies, even better people. As one Sylvania member commented to me, Tommy, as he is affectionately known, has always been about the kids. He's providing them an opportunity to work, having expectations of superior performance, coaching them up for that better performance, and holding them personally accountable for their work. We are very lucky to have him impact our club and our future at Sylvania Country Club. Over Tom's 37 years as a caddy master, 105 of his caddies have been awarded an Evans Scholarship. For you that do not know, an Evans Scholarship is a full 4-year tuition and housing scholarship. There are more than 10,000 alums, which I'm proud to be one, and we acknowledge our journey would not have been possible without a caddy master like Tom, providing not only education about the game of golf and caddying, but more importantly about showing us young men and women the way, including the many lessons of life. Even though Tom is a very humble person, he is already a member of 5 Hall of Fames, including his Woodward High School, Toledo City League, and the Toledo District Golf Association. I know the entire membership, board, and staff at Sylvania Country Club join me in today congratulating Tom on this great honor of being inducted into the Ohio Golf Hall of Fame. Thank you. I present Tom Gryzwinski.
Wow. Wow. Whoever thought that I'd be standing here? You never do something that I did and expected to be standing here. First of all, I come today with a heavy heart. We lost my brother-in-law Saturday. And he was one of the first guys when I found out about this. Alan called me and told me he was one of the first guys that I called because he was a supporter. And he said, hey, we're going to have a big party and we'll all go and we'll all celebrate. He didn't make it. The guy said it. And so, you know, the joy I have pales in comparison to the grief that when you lose a loved one. First, let me introduce you to the most important people in my life. My lovely wife, Sharon, would you please stand there, dear? Passed away, has been a part of my life for 53 years. And she put up with my being gone on Saturdays and Sundays and holidays doing this thing. And when I was officiating, she let me travel all the country chasing this dream, and she never complained. And God, I love her. Next, my two daughters, Stephanie, would you? Stephanie. Stephanie is in California, and Lou was her godfather. And my daughter Jennifer and her husband Tim, they were good kids. They're good adults. And they're good parents. They each have two children, and they've become a very important part of my life now. And then lastly, and not really lastly, our cousin, John Ellis and his wife Renee, and even though he's a cousin, but he's more than that, he's a friend. And Renee's a friend, and they're always there for us when we need them. Thank you for coming. As I said, because there's a problem, a lot of people didn't come, or couldn't come. How'd I get in here? How'd I do this? You know, I was a school teacher, and I was a football coach, and I quit coaching football. And one of our counselors said, Tommy, they're looking for a caddy master at Ingram's. And I think he'd be a perfect fit. And I said, caddy master, where's the caddy master? Now, you're talking to a guy from the north end of Toledo who used to take his clubs, walk 6 blocks to Manhattan Boulevard and hitchhike to Bayview Park and sneak on. I mean, that was what I did. And I never caddied. So when he proceeded to tell me about what a caddy does, no, I don't want to do that. He said, well, go out and get a free lunch. You know, go to Everest and they'll give you a free lunch and tell me you don't want to do it. I said, oh, I don't want to. No, he said, just do me a favor, just go. So I go to Inverness, which is, and was a big deal, and I meet this guy named Don Pernay. And man, he's a pro's pro. Now I'm a golfer, and Don was a great guy. Tommy, I want you to run the program. It's your program to run. You're in charge. We expect the best. You want help, I'll give it to you, but if not, you run the program. Man, he was talking my language. I like to be in charge. and I told my wife, I said, you know, I think I'd like to work for this guy. Little did I know that free lunch would change my life forever. And little did I know that I don't know this to be true, but I have had a positive influence on a lot of kids. I just did what I was taught. You know, some of the kids said, did your parents ever paddle you? Damn right they did. Did your teachers paddle you? The damn right they did. Huh? I mean, and I came away with a psychological disorder. It's called respect for others. When I was there, I mean, and Terry knows it. I mean, what did I expected if you work for me, I expect you to be on time. I expect you to look good. I expect you to be respectful to the members and to your fellow caddies. And I expect you to do your best every time out. If not, you're going to answer to me. And what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? And that's what I believe in. And I do the same thing today. And you know what, today I have another little problem. I mean, the phones. And And I have a sign, you know, if you use your phone on the golf course, I'm going to fire you. And I have. You know, I have a sign that says, if you want to call home, tweet home, or Twitter home, stay home. Or who did I work for? I had a long speech, but I didn't. You know, because of what happened, I had to cut it short. But who did I work with? Don Renee hired me on Pros Pro. You know, then I went to Sylvania, and a guy named Doug Nelson hired me. God, he was good. I mean, he was terrific. And then, of course, I worked for Brad Apple. A lot of you guys know Brad Apple. Terrific guy, great player. I caddied twice in my life. I caddied for Dale Pernay, who was Don's son, tried to qualify for the Milwaukee Open. I caddied for Brad Apple, they tried to qualify for the US Open. Both failed to make the cut. In our group with Brad was a kid named Ben Curtis. And I'm going to tell you something. Other than a short game, they looked the same. I mean, Brad could play. And I think he shot 70, on a terrible day at Maumee Bay, he shot 76, and Ben Curtis qualified at 73. But, I mean, not only a good player, but a good guy. And then there's Aaron Walsh, who now is director of golf. And lastly, he's director of golf at Ferris State. And lastly, our pro, Jason Stuller. And of these guys, he's probably the hardest worker. First one there in the morning, last one to leave. And I'm going to tell you something. They give me a lot of credit, but I didn't make one of these guys better. They made me better, because they demanded excellence. Tommy, if we don't service our members, somebody else will. And that's what I did. We want the best for our members, the best for our guests. And that's what I still do today. All right, I have a great job. And I'm just going to, in closing, I'm going to give you a couple little things that happened to me. About a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, my wife and I were at Walgreens, and we walk in, and I see behind the counter in the pharmacy is Anthony, one of my Evans scholars. And I say, hey, Anthony, what's going on? He says, well, I'm in pre-pharmacy. This is terrific. So I see him like 3 months later at a social outing, and I said, how's that pharmacy thing going? I quit. Quit? Why'd you quit? That wasn't hard enough for me. I said, what are you doing now? He says, I'm doing cancer research at the University of Toledo. He's an Evans scholar. Now, I went back to the membership and I said, geez, I mean, this kid may discover something that's going to help your grandkids, your cousins. I mean, who knows where these paths, these guys that get scholarships, and even the ones who don't get scholarships, where they lead. Maybe because they, I have a friend named Perry Trapinski, and Perry lived in Toledo for a long time, and then he moved to Arizona for a long time, and he came back here, and he was shopping at Kroger's. And the store manager comes over to him and says, aren't you Mr. Trapinski? Yes, I am. I caddied for you in a Sylvania member guest. And Perry says, that's 20 years ago. He said, yeah, I remember. Perry calls me and tells me the story. And I said, Perry, you want to know why he remembers you? Because you're a good guy and you treated him right. He'll remember you forever. And I said, don't you think he treats his employees the way you treated him? So life lessons. Life lessons. Lastly, I do my training in the spring. I take like 4 days, I take like 20 kids out a day. And we go out and play, they come with me, and they play one hole. I show them what the job is for one hole. And then they break up in smaller groups and actually get the caddy with my older kids. And on this particular day, a mother brings her son over to me, and he's got Down syndrome. And, you know, I welcomed him, and he went with me and the other 19 kids or 20 kids. And we go on to the golf course to play that one hole. And then that one hole, you know, I mean, I keep up, keep quiet, I'll teach you everything else. And I play one hole, and we take out 4 or 5 bags so the kids get to carry the different kinds of bags. And then it becomes obvious early, it's hard for him to keep up. It's hard for him to walk down the stairs and climb the hills. And then given a bag, it's even more difficult. He's trying, it's not his fault. Caddying, it's hard. It's a hard job to do it right. And he ends up, we break up into smaller groups and I watch him once again. It's very hard, it's difficult. So the mother comes to pick him up and I explain to the mother, you know, I don't think he can do this. I mean, I'd like to have him, but it's just too hard. Because he's got service to members. And she thanks me and appreciates it. And she said, I didn't know what they had to do. So she leaves. I'm doing my paperwork and I'm getting ready to close up, and in walks one of our members, C.J. Yako. C.J. Yako. And he says to me, Tommy, I saw that kid that you were going to train today. If you're going to put him out Saturday, I'll take him. If you're going to put him out Saturday, I'll take him. I can't make this stuff up. I mean, I know what Willy Wonka felt when Charlie Bucket returned that gobstopper. Remember what he said? So shines a good deed in a weary world. I can't make this up. You know, my older brother passed away about 4 or 5 years ago, and he was a golfing nut. Loved to play golf, and was sort of my idol, and growing up, and he loved Palmer, he loved Nicklaus, and he had their autographs, and he actually met them, and we talk about it all the time, and then my brother-in-law, I mean, he started a golf league, and would talk about golf and his good shots and everything, you know, and if they knew I was standing here, about to be inducted into the same Hall of Fame as Palmer, Nicklaus, they've been very proud. I'm very proud and very honored.
I want to congratulate Tom on his honor and his tireless efforts to help young caddies. I have a real soft spot for the Scholars Program. We put it in our magazines a lot. We talk about it. We tell the stories. You know, golf generates almost $4 billion a year for charity. $4 billion. They do this. The PGA Tour makes a big deal. They've given $2 billion or whatever to charity, but that's like over 60 years, right? Golf generates $4 billion every year. Most of that comes from outings at over 12,000 golf courses across the country. This is being severely limited this year. Outings are cut back. You know, generous donations are being cut back. So, I just want to leave a thought. Tom so eloquently talked about the Other Scholars Program, about what it means to these kids. If anybody has ever gone to an Evans Scholars Selection Committee meeting, the stories are just outstanding for these young kids. I'm moved every time I go. I've gone about 4 or 5 times. It's one of the highlights of my year to go to this. I actually took my wife last year, and she came away really impressed. So, my point is, when you got your checkbook out this year and you're making donations, remember the Evans Scholars Program, because it's really good stuff. They do fantastic work. Okay, our next inductee, Robert Gerwin II, tried his hand at professional golf. Quickly decided that amateur golf was a better fit for him. He knows his way around the golf course. He has competed in 35 USGA championships throughout his amateur career. On hand to present Mr. Gerwin is the president of the Ohio Golf Association, founder and chairman of the Amateur Golf Alliance, plus he knows his way around the golf course a little bit himself, 11-time Emeritus Club champion, Alan Fidel.
Thank you very much. I want to congratulate Mary and her family, of course. Fabulous. Great story. And Tom, I was with Tom the first year he was in the business and got to watch 37 years of it, and it was very interesting to watch. He was one of the best. I'm here to introduce a real champion, maybe one of the best mid-amateur champions in the country. Has been for a long time, and it's not easy. He's got a wonderful family that I've gotten to know through golf, Margot, Diz, and Robert, and I think they're a testament to, mostly to Jenny, but to Rob. Rob's been able to juggle a lot, and it's, you know, the amateur game especially needs people like Rob, and need them to be successful, and need them to play well. And they also need him to have the historical background that he does. He understands the game, he understands the history of the game, and he understands the importance of the game. We talked about golfaholics. Well, to some people, it's just a notch below a religion, and they pay very close attention to it, and it means a lot to them. And if you think about it, just think about the lessons that we've all learned from competing and being part of golf. Well, Rob is the perfect example of what we all hoped to be and hoped to accomplish. I mean, just to give a little overview, 2-time state amateur, which is not easy, and finished in the top 10 this year as a 53-year-old. Made it to the semifinals of the U.S. Mid-Amateur. He missed close to maybe getting a trip to the Masters. Made it to the quarterfinals of the U.S. Amateur until a guy by the name of Kuchar, I think, beat you. I've been in England, and I heard a story about somebody getting beat by Rob, I think, if I'm right. You beat him with like 3 holes to go. And it was a big story over there because of the comeback. But he's accomplished so much, and we're all so proud of him. And it's been a real honor and privilege for me to be his friend, but also to present him tonight. This is Rob Gerwin.
Thanks, everybody. First of all, I want to thank Plum Park Country Club for having us all here, not only to play the golf, to be here and have dinner in the clubhouse. It's asking lots. I want to thank the Ohio Golf Association, Matt Lefferts. Thank you so much for all your work. Jim Pope before and Nick Pope before him. Playing Ohio Golf Association events. They've always run great events. They've always treated you with a great deal of respect. They work so hard. And I've always told players, my peers, and the young people behind me that if you want to be a great champion, you got to win the state amateur. And you should be playing at Ohio Golf Association events. So thanks, Matt, for all that you do. Thank the other inductees. Tom, I just want to say, our world would be a better place if there were more Tom Gryzwinski. Betty Kerby, I didn't get to meet her, didn't get to play with her. My playing partner today, I asked her about her, and he said she had a sweet golf swing, a beautiful rhythm, and everybody who played with her played better, because she was such a fine player and a fine person, so congratulations to Betty. First of all, I want to introduce the greatest treasure in my life is my family. And so I want to introduce my wife, Jenny, of 25 years, putting up with me and all the golf that I play. I want to introduce my daughter, Margot, my daughter, Diz, and my son, Robert. I love you all very much. I'm very proud of you. I'm looking forward to watching you all grow up and help the world be a better place. I want to thank all my siblings for coming all the way as far away as Tennessee. So, Billy, KK, David, and Matt, thanks for coming so far to be here tonight. I appreciate you all making the effort. I love you all very much. My cousins, JP, and Andrew and Brooke, thanks for coming down from Detroit. Appreciate you all being here. So, my story, like most of us in this room, we all have a story of where we learned to play golf and who made a difference in our lives, like a Tom. And for me, I was 10 years old. My grandmother had a cottage in northern Michigan, and I went to spend the month of July with her. And the third or fourth night, her brother, Tom Earls, came over and had dinner with us. And during dinner, Tom said, Robert, do you play golf? And I said, I played a little bit of golf with my dad. And he goes, well, after dinner, we'll go out and have a few shots. And he went back to his cottage, grabbed a couple wedges, came back, and said, why don't you see if you can get down to that pine tree? And I guess I must have gotten off the ground okay, because he said, all right, we'll go get the ball, let's have a game. And I said, well, what's the game? I like games. He said, well, you hold him down, hit how many shots it takes you to hit that pine tree and bring it back and hit this pine tree. And if you beat me, I'll buy you an ice cream. And I was all. We played until dark that night. I asked him to come back the next night. On the third night, he came over, and my grandmother came out of the cottage and said, Tom, you need to come over. You cannot have this boy in the park in front of the cottage hitting golf balls all over the place. People want to walk their dogs, there's cars, you can't have this. As they bickered back and forth up down there in front of the cottage, waiting for the older people to get their issues settled. And my great uncle Tom settled the conversation by saying, Catherine, do not extinguish this young boy's interest in the game. So we spent the rest of the month playing golf every night in this little park. And when I got back home to Cincinnati, I looked out my window, and here's this big, huge yard. And I said to my mom, how many acres do we have? 3 acres. I went and grabbed my dad's sand wedge, and I'm out there hitting balls over the woods, over the trees. And we had a little garden in the back, and there was a privet hedge. Well, that was my water hedge. The rose garden and the mulch bed, that was the bunkers. And I played golf against Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus, and I had huge dreams of winning the Masters. And I was in my backyard playing golf all the time. In the wintertime when it snowed, if the snow got low enough, I'd get hot water and melt the snow in a big circle, and that would be my putting green, and I'd hit it over the green. I mean, who could have a better start to golf than what I had in my backyard playing golf? My siblings thought I was absolutely nuts. The neighbors thought I was nuts, but I loved it. So that's how I started playing. I played high school golf and college golf. Started qualifying for state AMs and US AMs, and I had great experiences. But it really started in 1994. Jenny and I got married then in 96. Margaret was born May 24th, and she was getting close to being due. All my peers were saying, you know what, Robert, get your golfing because it's all coming to an end. Going down the toilet, it's all over. Well, that was wrong. My greatest golf start after my family started. And, Margot was born May 24th. I registered for the state mid-AM in middle of June. Just a few weeks later, it was at McAtee Country Club in Cincinnati. Shot 71 the first round, pretty good round. Didn't make a whole lot of putts, so a friend gave me a little tip. He said, you know what, Robert, you're looping that putter to the inside. Maybe you should take it to the outside. So I had enough courage to go out the next day and loop it to the outside. And by God, I made 5 birdies. And, I guess 5 there for the tournament. I called Jenny. I said, why don't you have Margaret come over? Because I might have just won my first state title. So here's my wife, my tiny little baby girl. We're sitting in front of the scoreboard. Behind the 18th green, watching the last groups come in, and by God, I won my first state title. 3 weeks after my baby girl was born. So
And then a month later, the state amateur was at Miami Valley in Dayton. And I went up to play a practice round. I was playing so well. I'm driving home thinking about my game plan, thinking about how I should play the golf course. I said, I'm hitting it so good. All I got to do is not screw up on the greens. Let's just try to lag every single putt. I wanted to 2-putt every single green, and I figured someone would have to drop it. And sure enough, I went out, shot 68, 68, 68. I never tried to hit a par 5. I was just putting in the fairway and trying to get it close to the hole. So I'm in the last group playing against Randy Lean in the final round. It was Dayton, so we had a great deal of fans out pulling for me. He was an All-American from Indiana University. And I stuck to my game plan. I kept hitting fairways and greens. I kept lagging my putts. And I shot another 68. 4 straight 68s. Playoff. We got in the first playoff hole. 100 people pulling for Randy and Jenny and I. And I make par, and poor Randy missed a 4-footer for par, and there was silence for it seemed a long time. And then all of a sudden, Jenny goes, woohoo! So I won my first state AM at Miami Valley, and so I won both the mid-AM and the AM within 8 weeks of my first daughter being born. So I'm living proof that when you start a family, your golf game does not have to go down the toilet. And it changed my life. Not only did it open so many doors and opportunities for me to go compete on a national level, but it also gave me the confidence to go out there and compete and play and win championships. So in '97, I got to play all these great tournaments. And I came back for the USAM qualifier, won the qualifier by 12 shots. I went up to Chicago, so confident. And I played in 5 USAMs before that, but I hadn't gotten to match play. And I was determined that I was going to get to match play this year. So we drive up there, but Jenny didn't believe I was going to make it. So she came back Sunday. My caddy flew back Sunday. I'm going to play. And I was like, I'm going to get through, and I'm going to prove to them that I can do this. And there was 2 holes the first night, and the next night I get back out there, and 3 more holes to play off. I'm carrying my own bag, and I was so focused. I was so determined. I was not going to be denied. And on the 13th hole at Cogdale, I hit an approach shot in the left-hand bunker, and I think it started out like 30 guys for 5 spots, some ridiculous odds. And now we're down to maybe 8 for 1 or 2. And I hit the left-hand bunker. The pin was left. I had no chance. But I never for a moment did I think I could not hit this shot. And I got down this bunker, and I hit the cutest, daintiest, semi-diascaros, trickled in the rough. It trickled down, and it laid just like this. And I went there and tapped it in, and I went, picked up my bag, and I was ready to go to the next hole. And I was not going to be denied. And right then, the USGA official came over and said, Robert Gerwin, yes, congratulations. You just qualified. You played Bryce Mulder at 220. I burst into tears. I'd finally broken through, and I was in the match. I pulled myself together. They turned me to the clubhouse. I called Jenny. I burst into tears. She's like, what's wrong with you? I've done it. I can do this. And I stood up then. I got all cleared out of my system. I stood up there in the first tee. I put my shoulders back like, I'm ready. I beat Bryce Mulder, who at the time was top 5 in the world amateur golfer, All-American, 20 holes. Then I played Jason Gore, beat him 4-3. Then I played Jason Allred, who just won the U.S. Junior Amateur, beat him. And then played Matt Kuchar and lost. But it was a great ride for a guy from Cincinnati, Ohio. And it was a wonderful experience for me. So 97, I got the Sweet 16 U.S. Mid-Am that year also. And then 98 comes along. We decided we are going to go to Scotland. We're going to go over to play the British game. And I was in Muirfield. And I went over early, and I had family, and we're all playing. And we get there, the weather's horrific. And I won't go into that stuff. We get to the 3rd round, Sweet 16. We're playing James Bunch, our friend. And I'm 2 up with 3 to go. Alan was nice. He insinuated that I won this match, but I lost this match. But I was 2 up with 3 to go. I bogeyed 16. He eagles 17. And then on 18, he hooks it left, strike it down the middle. He plays back. He hooks it left into the heather grass. I hit it 6 feet. My caddy's going, Laddie, it's time for a pint. And so we're over there looking for his ball. He's in grass up to his knees. We finally find his ball.
And James says to his caddy, tendon. And I said to my caddy, did he say tendon? And sure enough, the caddy goes over there and he's holding the pin. And James takes this huge whack, and grass flies everywhere. The ball comes out, lands on the fringe, starts tracking up the slope, goes up. The caddy pulls the pin out, and it drops right in the middle. I look over at Jenny, and she goes like this, and turns away. She's done with it. Needless to say, I missed my 6-footer. And he made birdie in the first playoff hole, and I lost. As I'm walking back up to the clubhouse, this old, ancient Scottish guy, bald as could be, bent over like this, comes up to me and goes, "Oh, laddie, it must feel like you've been punched in the gut." So what a ride. I got back in time for the Sunny Hand Hammer, and my great play continued. I shot 10 under par. I lost the playoff for that. I played the last 2.5 rounds on the lead, so playing the Sunny Hand and played so well was fabulous. 99, did well in the USAM, lost to David Gossett in the second round, who went on to win. My daughter Diz was born, shot a 59 club championship, and I was just rolling. So this all leads to the 2001 Ohio Amateur. And it's at the Heritage Club in Cincinnati. And the experiences from the past 5 years have totally changed me as a golfer, and how I thought, how I played, how I prepared. And Miami Valley, I'm like, let's don't screw up any putts. Let's do putt everything. I get out to the Heritage Club, I stand there, I hit 10 balls, I go to the tee. I went for every par 5 and 2. I was just foot on the gas, and I was letting it fly. I shot 64, 8 under par, course record, still the course record. I had an indifferent second and third round, but I'm in the last group in the 4th round, and shot 39 on the front. But I had this great friend of mine, Carl Tukey, caddy for me. And Carl starts needling me a little bit, and I start lightening up a little bit. And I birdied 11, 12, and 13. I'm back on the lead with Eric. And the 14th hole is a par 5. And if you all from Cincinnati know the Heritage Club, there's trouble everywhere around me. It's a risk reward. I hit in the fairway bunker on the left. And I'm like, Carl, let's get good yards here. Let's lay this up to a good wedge. He's, lay it up. You've got this shot. I've seen you hit this shot so many times. This is you. This is your time. You're going for it. I'm like, oh. I was so shocked that he was so demonstrative about it. Next, I don't even know we checked yards. I pulled out 4 iron, over the left, over the creek, over the lake, over the head, over everything. Got it up there. We made another bird. And so I ended up winning that in a playoff, making birdie the first playoff hole. So to win 2 state titles, and really that was my best golf year from '96 to 2000. I did get the semis, the U.S. Mid-Am. They're losing to Ethan Smith, who went on to win his 4th title, so that was a little heartbreaking. But golf has been it's been a great ride. Davis Love's comment, golf is a journey, enjoy the ride. I am living proof. The places I've been, for a small boy, playing in his backyard, treating the bush as a water hazard, to travel the world, the people I've met, it's been a great ride. So tonight, I am so humbled that I have been honored in this way to join the great ambassadors that this state has produced, to join the great golfers that this state has produced, to join my friends and mentors, Alan Fidel, Randy Reifert, Skip Snow, Jim Stahl, and of course joining my boyhood idols, Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer, in the Ohio Golf Hall of Fame. Thank you so much.
Well, folks, that kind of wraps things up tonight. Thanks for everyone that came out, attended. Isn't this great that we finally get together and we pass something like this? I don't know about you guys. This is the first event that I've been to since probably January of any size or consequence. So this is wonderful that Plunbrook can put this on. Matt, Ohio Golf Association, great job. Thanks for having us all. Again, one very special thanks to Morgan Stanley for the generous support.